train can't hold me. You are. Stay on your feet, bro.
Stop it. Lower your voice. You're going to get us thrown off this train.
I'm good. They love me in here.
Hey, chill. You better knock somebody coffee, man.
You can't touch me. I'm untouchable.
You need to get off at the very next station. Now.
Ma'am, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just standing here trying to get to my destination.
Don't talk to me. This train isn't meant for people like you. Move out of my way!
The late August heat had turned the Chicago L train into a moving furnace. Detective Sergeant Marcus Hale wiped sweat from his neck as he stepped onto the green line heading north. He was off-duty, dressed in neutral clothes, dark jeans, a light gray polo, worn sneakers. Nothing about him suggested law enforcement. No badge visible, no weapon on display. Just another tired commuter trying to get home. Marcus was 41, a veteran with nearly 19 years in the county sheriff's office. He had spent his career handling volatile situations, armed standoffs, domestic calls gone bad, missing persons cases that still haunted him. He was respected by his peers for one reason above all else: control. Marcus didn't panic, he didn't escalate, he de-escalated. Today, however, he wanted none of that. He just wanted dinner at his brother's apartment in Uptown and a quiet evening with family. The train car was packed. Office workers stood shoulder to shoulder with tourists. A busker softly strummed a guitar near the door. Two college students argued about weekend plans. An older man slept upright, his head bobbing with the motion of the train. Marcus leaned against a pole near the rear, scrolling through a message thread, typing that he'd be there in about 15 minutes. That's when he noticed the tension. Near the center of the car stood a woman in her late 40s, stiff-backed, lips tight, eyes sharp. She was staring openly at a young Latina mother struggling to soothe a crying child. The woman's annoyance was palpable, arms crossed, foot tapping, jaw clenched as if the noise were a personal insult. Marcus glanced, then looked away. Not my business, he thought. He'd learned long ago that not every injustice could be corrected, especially off the clock. But something about her posture made his instincts twitch. She wasn't just irritated, she was looking for a target. The train screeched to a stop at Roosevelt. More passengers squeezed in, bodies shifted, space vanished. Marcus was pushed forward, now standing only a few feet from the woman. She exhaled loudly, dramatically. Her eyes scanned the car and landed on him. Her name was Linda Crowley, though that name would soon disappear beneath a viral nickname the internet would assign her. Linda lived in a wealthy suburb outside Evanston and worked as a regional sales director for a luxury home staging company. She drove a white BMW, wore designer shoes even on public transit, and believed firmly that certain spaces belonged to certain people. Her day had already gone wrong. A client had canceled a major contract that morning. Traffic had made her late for an afternoon meeting. She was furious, and she needed somewhere to put it. Linda studied Marcus with open disdain, a tall man with dark skin, casual clothes, and a calm expression. In her mind, she filled in every blank: who he was, what he did, whether he deserved to be there. None of it was true. She stepped closer. Marcus didn't notice immediately. He was still texting his brother. Linda cleared her throat once, then again louder. A few riders glanced over and quickly looked away. Chicago commuters knew better than to engage. Linda shifted her oversized purse, swinging it wide enough to smack Marcus's forearm. He looked up. "Sorry," he said calmly, assuming it was accidental. Her eyes hardened. She moved away sharply, pressing herself against the pole as if contaminated. The message was unmistakable. Marcus felt it instantly: the shift, the prejudice, the familiar sting. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Engaging would only feed her. He returned to his phone. Linda wasn't finished. The train lurched forward. She stumbled, then exaggerated it, acting as if Marcus had caused it. She shot him a venomous look and muttered something under her breath, loud enough for others to hear. A woman across the aisle lifted her phone slightly. Marcus tightened his grip on his own device. Stay calm, he told himself. Just a few more stops. The air in the car changed. Conversations faded. Even the guitarist stopped playing. Linda stood there, breathing harder now, eyes darting between Marcus and the surrounding passengers, waiting for validation. None came, and that only made her angrier. Marcus kept his eyes lowered, but he wasn't disengaged. Years in law enforcement had trained him to observe without staring, to listen without reacting. He tracked Linda's movements through reflections in the train windows and the subtle shifts of the crowd around them. Her hands kept clenching and unclenching. Her weight shifted restlessly from foot to foot. She wasn't trying to calm down, she was working herself up. The train slowed at the next station. A few passengers exited, leaving pockets of open space. Linda now had room, plenty of it, to step away if she truly felt uncomfortable. She didn't move. Instead, she stayed exactly where she was, angling her body toward Marcus, her attention locked on him with unsettling intensity. An older couple seated nearby exchanged uneasy looks. A teenage boy lowered his music volume, sensing trouble. Across the aisle, a college-aged woman slipped her phone fully into recording position, holding it low and discreet. She'd seen enough online clips to recognize the pattern forming. Linda finally spoke loud enough for half the car to hear. "Some people," she said sharply, "have absolutely no respect for personal space." Her tone wasn't accidental. It was performative. Marcus didn't respond. She continued, her voice rising. "They come into places like this and act like they belong everywhere." That did it. The car went silent. Marcus lifted his gaze slowly, meeting her eyes for the first time. His expression remained neutral, but his voice was firm and controlled. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "I haven't touched you. I'm just standing here, same as everyone else." It was the worst possible response. Linda's face twisted, rage flashing openly now. She stepped closer, deliberately invading his space. "Don't talk to me," she snapped. "I know exactly what you are." The implication hung heavy in the air. Marcus stayed still, hands visible, posture non-threatening. Every instinct told him this situation was crossing a dangerous line, but he forced himself to stay calm. He dealt with far worse than words. Linda mistook his restraint for weakness. The train lurched again and she shoved his shoulders sharply as if to steady herself. Marcus staggered half a step back, gasps rippled through the car. That was no accident. Several phones were up now. No one pretended otherwise. Marcus inhaled slowly. This is no longer just harassment, he thought. This is evidence. Linda saw the attention and leaned into it, voice rising theatrically. "You need to get off this train," she demanded, pointing a finger at his chest. "Go back to wherever you came from. This isn't for people like you." The words hit harder than the shove. The young woman recording adjusted her angle. Another passenger near the door openly raised his phone. Documentation had begun. Marcus didn't move. Inside, something shifted. He wasn't an off-duty commuter anymore. He was cataloging threats, language, intent. Every syllable mattered. Linda smiled, a cruel, satisfied curl of her lips. "That's right," she said loudly. "Quiet now, that's how you people always are." She raised her hand. Marcus reacted instantly, not with violence, but precision. He caught her wrist mid-swing, firm but controlled. "Stop," he said quietly. "Right now," she shrieked, yanking against his grip. "Don't touch me, help, he's attacking me." The irony was staggering. The train began to slow, platform lights visible through the windows. Marcus released her arm. Linda stumbled back, breathing hard, eyes wild. For a brief second, uncertainty flickered across her face as she noticed the phones, the witnesses, the silence. Too late, the doors hissed open. Two uniformed Chicago police officers stepped onto the train, and everything changed. The moment the officers stepped inside the car, the atmosphere snapped from chaos to scrutiny. Both wore standard CPD uniforms, duty belts visible, expressions alert. They immediately sensed something was wrong, not because anyone said a word, but because nearly half the passengers were holding phones aimed in the same direction. One of the officers, a tall man with close-cropped hair, scanned the car. The other, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor, focused on Linda, who was still breathing hard, chest rising and falling rapidly. "What's going on here?" the female officer asked. Linda spoke first. "She always did. He assaulted me," she said loudly, pointing at Marcus. "He grabbed me, completely unprovoked." A murmur rippled through the car. Marcus remained silent. The officer turned to him. "Sir?" Marcus took a measured breath. Slowly, deliberately, he reached into his back pocket. Linda flinched. See. He's reaching for something." Instead of a weapon, Marcus produced a leather wallet and flipped it open, holding it up at chest height. "Detective Sergeant Marcus Hale," he said evenly. "Cook County Sheriff's Office, off-duty. That woman verbally harassed me for several minutes and physically shoved me twice. I restrained her wrist to prevent her from striking me." The reaction was immediate. Linda's face drained of color. The officer stiffened. "Your law enforcement?" the male officer asked. "Yes," Marcus replied, "and I'm requesting to file an assault report." The car erupted. Someone laughed. Someone else muttered, "Oh, she messed up." A few passengers actually clapped before quickly stopping themselves. Linda shook her head violently. No, that's not." "He never said." The female officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, stop talking." Linda froze. The officer turned to the crowd. "Anyone record what happened?" Hands went up. Phones extended forward. "At least 8 videos," someone said. The officer nodded once. "Good, please stay where you are." Linda's confidence collapsed in real time. Her posture shrank, her voice wavered. "This is a misunderstanding." "I didn't know he was." Marcus met her eyes. "Would it have mattered?" She had no answer. The officers moved quickly. The male officer positioned himself between Linda and the door. The female officer stepped closer to Linda. "Turn around." "Hands behind your back." "What? No, this is ridiculous. I barely touched him." "Turn around." The click of handcuffs echoed in the car. Linda began to cry. Mascara streaked down her face as reality crashed in. She looked around at the passengers, the witnesses she'd assumed would side with her. None did. One by one, people shook their heads. Some stared with open disgust. The college-aged woman who had been recording from the beginning stepped forward. "I caught everything," she said to Marcus, "from when she started muttering to when she shoved you twice." "Thank you," Marcus said. "Please share it with the officers." "I already did." The officers escorted Linda off the train as station staff cleared the platform. The train remained stopped, doors open, tension slowly bleeding out of the space. As Linda passed Marcus, she looked at him, not angry now, not defiant, just hollow. "I didn't know," she whispered. Marcus said nothing. Because by then, it truly didn't matter. The platform buzzed with activity as Linda was led away, her heels clicking unevenly against the concrete. Commuters lingered longer than usual, some offering statements, others simply watching the scene they knew would follow them home in conversation and memory. Marcus stepped off the train at the officer's request, his earlier plans evaporating in the fluorescent glow of the station. One of the officers gestured toward a quiet corner near the stairwell. "We'll need your statement, Sergeant. You can give it here or downtown." Marcus checked his phone, 3 missed messages from his brother. "Where are you?" he exhaled. "I'll come in, let my family know I'll be late." The officer nodded. "Understood." With this much video, it should be straightforward. Straightforward. Marcus had learned that word often meant inevitable, not simple. At the precinct, Linda's composure disintegrated completely. Her belongings were inventoried. Phone, keys, designer bag, fingerprints taken. Mugshot captured under harsh lighting that showed every flaw, every streak of smeared makeup. The woman who had boarded the train, convinced of her superiority, barely resembled the one now staring blankly into the camera. Marcus sat in an interview room across from Detective Louis Morneau, recounting the incident from start to finish. He kept his language factual, unemotional, time stamps, exact phrases, physical actions. "She used the phrase, 'people like you,'" Marcus said, more than once, followed by "go back to where you came from." Morneau's pen paused briefly. "That matters, I know." Morneau looked up. "We've reviewed 5 videos already. Clear escalation, clear intent." Across the hall, Linda's phone call with her husband had not gone well. "What were you thinking?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the holding area. "Do you have any idea what this is going to do to us?" Linda stared at the wall. For the first time, she had no defense ready, no justification that sounded convincing even to herself. By the time Marcus finished his statement, it was well past 8. He finally reached his brother's apartment nearly 3 hours late. His nieces were asleep, dinner sat cold on the counter. His brother didn't scold him. He just showed him his phone. The videos were everywhere. Millions of views already, comment sections overflowing, a nickname trending. Linda's employer had released a statement distancing themselves from her. Her professional profiles were being dissected publicly. Marcus felt no satisfaction watching it unfold, just exhaustion. Linda, on the other hand, was learning that consequences didn't stop at handcuffs. By midnight, her company had placed her on indefinite leave. By morning, her real estate certification board announced a formal review, her inbox filled with messages, some furious, some threatening, all relentless. She spent the night in a holding cell, clutching her bag like a lifeline, surrounded by people she'd never imagined herself among. Sleep never came. The next morning, she stood in a crowded courtroom, eyes downcast, as the charges were read aloud. Assault, harassment, disorderly conduct, and then the words that made her knees weaken. Hate crime enhancement. Linda finally understood. What she'd thought was a bad moment had become something far bigger, something permanent. And it was only the beginning. The arraignment took place the following morning in a packed downtown courtroom. Reporters filled the back rows, whispering as Linda was led in through the side door. Camera flashes popped briefly before a bailiff shut them down. Outside, satellite vans lined the street. Linda stood beside her attorney, a tired public defender named Andrew Cole, who had been assigned the case less than 12 hours earlier. He flipped through a thick file, already aware that this would not be an easy defense. Judge Alina Whitcomb entered the room and reviewed the docket with practiced efficiency. When she reached Linda's case, the room went quiet. The prosecutor presented the evidence without theatrics. 3 videos played on the courtroom monitors, each angle reinforcing the same story. Linda's words echoed through the speakers, unfiltered. The shove, the raised hand. The moment Marcus revealed his badge, the judge watched without interruption. When the videos ended, she removed her glasses and looked directly at Linda. "This is not a misunderstanding," Judge Whitcomb said. "This is a pattern of behavior." The charges were read aloud: assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment, hate crime designation. Andrew Cole argued for leniency. He described Linda as a business professional, a first-time offender, a woman under extreme stress who had made a regrettable mistake. Judge Whitcomb cut him off. "Stress does not excuse violence. And ignorance does not excuse bigotry." Bail was set at $60,000. Linda's husband wired the funds later that afternoon. She exited the courthouse shielded by sunglasses, head down, avoiding the microphones thrust toward her. But the damage followed her home. Her employer terminated her contract within hours. Clients canceled deals. Her professional license was suspended pending review. Her social media pages were flooded with outrage. Her name became shorthand for entitlement weaponized. Marcus watched the coverage from his living room that evening, television muted. He didn't engage, he didn't comment. He returned to work the next day like nothing had changed. For Linda, everything had changed. She stopped leaving her house. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Someone spray-painted her driveway. Her husband moved into a hotel. Her adult daughter stopped answering calls. Weeks passed. Apologies were issued through attorneys, statements about growth and accountability. They rang hollow against the videos replayed endlessly online. When the trial began, the prosecution's case was airtight. Marcus testified calmly. Witnesses corroborated every detail. Experts explained the legal threshold for hate-based offenses. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. Linda collapsed into tears as sentencing was scheduled. There was no anger left in her, only shock. Justice had moved quickly, and it wasn't finished yet. Sentencing day arrived under a dull gray sky, the kind that flattened the city into muted tones. Linda stood once more before Judge Whitcomb, shoulders slumped, hands clasped tightly in front of her. The confident executive who had boarded a crowded train weeks earlier no longer existed. In her place stood someone worn thin by sleepless nights, public shame, and the slow collapse of everything she once relied on. The courtroom was quieter than during the trial, but the weight of the moment pressed harder. Linda's attorney spoke first, asking the court for mercy. He described the toll the case had taken on his client, the loss of employment, the public backlash, the fractured family. He argued that incarceration would serve no rehabilitative purpose, that Linda had already paid a heavy price. Judge Whitcomb listened without interruption. The prosecutor followed, steady and unflinching. He spoke of accountability, of deterrence, of the danger of allowing hate-fueled violence to be minimized simply because it didn't result in severe physical injury. He reminded the court that Linda had been given multiple opportunities to disengage and had chosen escalation every time. Then Marcus was invited to speak. He didn't ask for vengeance. He didn't raise his voice. "I didn't want this to become a spectacle," he said simply. "I wanted it to stop. I wanted it acknowledged for what it was. No one should feel entitled to dehumanize a stranger." Judge Whitcomb folded her hands. "The court has reviewed the evidence, the testimony, and the impact statements," she said. "This was not an impulsive outburst. It was sustained conduct rooted in prejudice. Consequences must reflect that." She read the sentence clearly, deliberately: 6 months in county jail, a $40,000 fine. Mandatory completion of anger management and bias awareness programs. 2 years of probation. 500 hours of community service with organizations addressing discrimination. Linda closed her eyes as each condition landed. "This sentence is not meant to destroy you," the judge continued. "It is meant to hold you accountable and to protect the public from similar harm." The gavel struck. Court officers stepped forward. Linda turned once, scanning the room as if searching for something: sympathy, understanding, forgiveness. She found none. Marcus watched quietly from the back row as she was led away. He felt no triumph, no relief. Only a tired certainty that justice, while necessary, was never clean or satisfying. Life moved on. The videos eventually faded beneath newer headlines. Marcus returned to routine work, occasionally recognized by strangers who thanked him for his restraint. He accepted their words politely and kept walking. Linda entered custody stripped of status and illusion, facing months of reflection she could no longer avoid. Some lessons arrive gently, others arrive like this. Linda's first night in county jail was silent in a way she had never experienced before. No notifications, no emails, no voices asking for her approval. Just concrete walls, fluorescent lights that never fully dimmed, and the steady realization that there was no one left to blame but herself. The days that followed stripped away any remaining illusions. She wore a uniform identical to everyone else's. She stood in line, she waited, for meals, for count, for lights out. The hierarchy she had relied on her entire life no longer existed inside those walls. Outside, the world kept moving. Marcus returned to his routine: case files, briefings, long hours. The incident became a footnote in his career, unusual, yes, but not defining. When asked about it, he never embellished. He never celebrated the outcome. "I did my job," was all he said. Public attention faded as it always did, but consequences didn't. Linda served her sentence quietly. She completed every mandated program, not out of hope for redemption, but because there was nothing else to do. In group sessions, she listened to stories she had once dismissed. Anger didn't disappear overnight, but denial did, slowly. Uncomfortably, when she was released, there were no cameras waiting. No husband, no job, no reputation to return to. Probation followed her like a shadow. Community service placed her face-to-face with people she had once viewed as invisible. Some recognized her, most didn't care. To them, she was just another volunteer in a vest, picking up trash, filing paperwork, scrubbing graffiti from walls she hadn't been allowed to touch before. The internet had moved on, but search engines hadn't. Her name would always pull up that day. That train, those words. Marcus never saw her again. He didn't need to. Justice, he understood, wasn't about winning. It was about drawing a line and refusing to let it be crossed without consequence. It didn't erase harm, it didn't heal everything, but it said clearly, this matters. Months later, riding the same train line, Marcus stood in another crowded car. Different faces, same city, the hum of movement, the rhythm of everyday life continuing forward. A woman struggled with a stroller. Someone made room without being asked. A small moment, ordinary, unremarkable. Exactly how it should be, because sometimes the biggest stories aren't about punishment. They're about the quiet expectation that people treat each other with basic humanity, and the understanding that when they don't, the world is watching. Do you believe the sentence was fair? What would you have done in Marcus's position? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you're here for real stories where actions meet consequences, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.